Welcome to my channel, Most Worth Coins WC. In today's video, we'll explore some of the most valuable and interesting Washington quarter dollars. You won't want to miss these rare finds and hidden treasures. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with fellow coin collectors, and don't forget to subscribe to Most Worth Coins WC for more amazing coin content. Thanks for watching. The 1966 United States quarter dollar, part of the Washington Quarter series, holds significant historical and numismatic interest, particularly due to its placement within a turbulent era for American coinage. This quarter was struck during the transitional period following the Coinage Act of 1965, which radically altered the metallic composition of U.S. dimes and quarters by removing silver from their content due to rising silver prices and widespread coin hoarding. Prior to 1965, quarters were composed of 90% silver and 10% copper. However, starting mid-1965, the U.S. Mint adopted a clad composition consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a core of pure copper. Thus, the 1966 quarter features this new clad composition, making it the second full year of non-silver quarters, a major shift in U.S. numismatic history. The obverse of the coin features the left-facing bust of George Washington, originally designed by sculptor John Flanagan in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of Washington's birth. Above the portrait arcs the word Liberty, while the motto, "In God We Trust," is inscribed to the left, with the date 1966 at the bottom. The reverse showcases an eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows, a traditional symbol of strength and readiness for war, with two olive branches beneath representing peace. Around the top rim, the words United States of America are inscribed, with E pluribus unum just above the eagle's head and quarter dollar along the bottom edge. Notably, the 1966 quarter, like its 1965 and 1967 counterparts, bears no mint mark regardless of its production facility due to the mint's temporary suspension of mint marks during this period, a decision made to discourage collectors from hoarding new coins during the circulating coin shortage. This makes it difficult to determine whether a specific 1966 quarter was minted in Philadelphia or Denver, though a small number may have come from San Francisco, which also struck business strike coins during this period. Another important characteristic of the 1966 quarter is that it was not included in traditional proof sets. Instead, the U.S. Mint issued special mint sets, SMS, from 1965 to 1967, which were an alternative for collectors during the coin shortage. These SMS coins, struck with more care than standard business strikes but less precision than traditional proofs, are often characterized by their sharper details, better luster, and absence of circulation marks. Some 1966 SMS quarters display a cameo or deep cameo contrast between the frosted devices and mirrored fields, making them highly desirable among collectors today. Additionally, a rare variety known as the double-die obverse DDO has been reported on 1966 quarters, though such errors are scarce and can command premium values. In terms of value, most circulated 1966 quarters are common and worth face value due to their high mintage. Over 821 million coins were struck. Yet high-grade examples, particularly in mint state 66 and above, or with full strike and brilliant luster, can fetch higher prices among collectors. In SMS condition, coins graded SP67 and higher with cameo or deep cameo contrast also attract collector interest. Over the decades, the 1966 quarter has become emblematic of the mid-1960s economic and policy shifts in American coinage, reflecting broader trends in U.S. monetary history, government policy, and metallurgy. Though it may appear mundane at first glance, this coin encapsulates a pivotal moment when silver was phased out of everyday coinage, and the mint adjusted its practices to adapt to changing economic conditions. For both casual collectors and numismatists, the 1966 quarter offers a window into a significant period of American history and remains a staple in any complete Washington quarter collection. The 1980 United States quarter dollar represents a mature phase in the enduring Washington quarter series, which had been in continuous production since 1932. Created to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, this quarter retained the iconic obverse portrait designed by sculptor John Flanagan, which was based on the 1786 bust of Washington by the renowned French sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon. On the obverse, Washington's left-facing profile remains firm and dignified, a symbol of leadership and integrity. The word liberty is boldly struck above his head, while the national motto, "In God We Trust," rests to the left, and the date 1980 is inscribed below. The reverse side features the familiar heraldic eagle, wings outstretched in a pose that evokes power and protection. The eagle perches upon a bundle of arrows, indicating readiness for defense, with two olive branches below, symbolizing a peaceful intent. Above the eagle's head is the motto, "A pluribus unum," Latin for out of many, one, representing the unity of the American states, and encircling the design are the United States of America and quarter dollar. While the overall design had remained unchanged since its debut, subtle adjustments in minting technology and economic context over the decades added depth and variety to each year's production. The 1980 quarter was minted at 3 facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D; and San Francisco, S. A notable numismatic milestone was introduced this year. For the first time since 1964, the Philadelphia Mint began placing a P mint mark on circulating coins. Thus, 1980 is the first year that business strike quarters from Philadelphia bear the P mint mark, making it a historically important coin for collectors of mint mark transitions. This change was implemented to help track coin origins and assist in quality control, giving 1980 quarters a new layer of traceability. Over 635 million quarters were struck in Philadelphia, over 518 million in Denver, and 3.5 million proof coins in San Francisco. The 1980 S quarters were not released into circulation, but were instead produced for collectors in proof sets, struck with polished dies and planchets to yield high-contrast, mirror-like finishes. These proof coins, especially those exhibiting a deep cameo decam effect, where the frosted devices stand out starkly against the reflective fields, are highly prized by modern collectors, particularly in grades PR69 decam or PR70 decam. The circulation strikes, both from Philadelphia and Denver, are extremely common in worn condition due to their high mintages, but coins in mint state, MS grades, particularly MS66 and MS67, are considerably scarcer and command a premium due to their strike, quality, luster, and preservation. The composition of the 1980 quarter follows the post-1965 clad formula. An inner core of pure copper sandwiched between 2 outer layers of copper nickel, 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving the coin a total weight of 5.67 grams and a diameter of 24.26 millimeters. Its reeded edge, composed of 119 grooves, not only adds tactile character but also harks back to the time when coin edges were reeded to prevent shaving of precious metals. While there are no widely recognized major die varieties or doubled dies, for the 1980 quarter, a few minor errors and misstrikes, including off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and die breaks, have been found and are of interest to specialists in error coinage. Additionally, some examples exhibit struck-through grease or partial weak strikes, often mistaken for wear, which can affect value depending on severity and collector interest. From a historical perspective, 1980 was a pivotal year in American political and economic life. The United States was wrestling with inflation, energy crises, and geopolitical tension during the Cold War. It was also the year Ronald Reagan was elected president, beginning a new conservative era in American politics. The 1980 quarter circulated during a time of social and economic change, used in payphones, vending machines, parking meters, and gas stations across the country. It became part of everyday commerce in an era before the widespread use of debit, cards, or electronic transactions, giving it practical significance in the daily lives of millions of Americans. The Washington Quarter series was approaching a crossroads. Within 2 decades, it would be transformed by the 50-state quarters program, starting in 1999, which would revolutionize American coin collecting and educate a new generation on U.S. geography and heritage. Thus, the 1980 quarter can be seen as part of the final era of classic design quarters, before radical shifts in aesthetic and commemorative approaches took hold. For collectors, the 1980 quarter holds value not just in its scarcity and high grades, but in its role as a benchmark coin, signaling changes in mint policy, like the introduction of the Philadelphia P mint mark, and embodying the stable A continuity of American coinage during a decade of profound national change. The 1988 United States quarter dollar, part of the long-running Washington Quarter series, reflects both the stability of late 20th century American coinage and the subtle transitions that occurred within the U.S. Mint's production practices. First introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, the quarter continued in 1988 to feature John Flanagan's original design on the obverse, a left-facing bust of George Washington modeled after Jean-Antoine Houdon's neoclassical sculpture. On the obverse, the inscriptions are familiar. Liberty arcs boldly above Washington's head, "In God We Trust" is etched to the left, and the date 1988 appears beneath his chin. The reverse displays the heraldic eagle design, wings outstretched in a commanding pose, grasping a bundle of arrows that signify military strength, with 2 olive branches beneath indicating the nation's pursuit of peace. Surrounding the eagle are the United States of America above, a pluribus unum just above the eagle's head, and quarter dollar along the bottom rim. This reverse design had been in place since the series began and would remain unchanged until the introduction of the 50-state quarters program in 1999. The 1988 quarter is composed of a copper nickel-clad alloy, which consists of an inner core of pure copper sandwiched between 2 outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This composition, adopted in 1965 to replace 90% silver coins, was by then well established, making the 1988 quarter consistent with standard post-silver U.S. coinage. In terms of production, 1988 quarters were struck at all 3 major U.S. mints: Philadelphia, P, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 562 million quarters, all bearing the P Mint mark, a practice that began just 8 years earlier in 1980. The Denver Mint produced more than 596 million quarters, marked with a D. Finally, the San Francisco Mint produced just over 3 million proof quarters, bearing an S Mint mark, and sold exclusively in specially packaged proof sets for collectors. These proof coins were struck on highly polished planchets with precision, dies to produce sharp details and mirror-like surfaces, often exhibiting the deep cameo DCAM effect, frosted design elements contrasted against reflective fields. While the business strike 1988 quarters from Philadelphia and Denver are extremely common in circulation and generally worth face value in worn condition, uncirculated examples graded MS66 or higher, especially those with clean surfaces and strong luster, can command premium prices among collectors. Similarly, proof coins graded PR69 DCAM and PR70 DCAM are especially desirable for high-end proof set collectors. Although no widely recognized major varieties were released in 1988, error coins, such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die breaks, and struck-through errors, have been reported and are sought by specialists in error coinage. These anomalies, while rare, add excitement and uniqueness to an otherwise standard modern coin. The 1988 quarter circulated during a pivotal time in U.S. history as the country was nearing the end of the Cold War, and technology, communication, and politics were rapidly evolving. This coin was commonly used in a pre-digital America, where payphones, vending machines, and newspaper boxes all accepted quarters as standard fare. It was a period when physical currency still dominated day-to-day life, and the quarter remained one of the most widely used coins in the American economy. In a broader numismatic context, the 1988 quarter belongs to the final decade of the classic eagle reverse before the historic change to the 50-state quarters in 1999. As such, it forms part of a transitional bridge between the minimalist, consistent design of mid-20th century U.S. coinage and the colorful, diverse, and educational designs that would define American coin collecting in the new millennium. For this reason, many collectors include 1988 in full-date sets or in high-grade registry sets to document the complete Washington Quarter series before the design overhaul. Furthermore, its significance lies not in its rarity, but in its place within the broader fabric of American culture, serving as a tiny but powerful relic of a specific moment in history. From a design perspective, the 1988 quarter carries all the traditional motifs of patriotism and leadership that define the series. But from a historical and cultural standpoint, it also reflects the steady utility of coinage in a world just beginning to shift toward digital banking and electronic payment systems. It is a coin that millions carried in their pockets, spent on snacks, used in laundromats, or dropped into toll booths and donation boxes, making it both an everyday object and a living artifact of late 1980s America. Whether found in circulation, preserved in mint rolls, or encased in collector albums, the 1988 quarter continues to offer value, not only in monetary terms, but as a tangible symbol of the enduring nature of American coinage. The 1989 United States quarter dollar, part of the iconic Washington Quarter series, represents not just a common circulating coin, but also a reflection of the maturing phase of America's modern coinage system in the late 20th century. First, introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, the quarter retained its original design by sculptor John Flanagan through 1989, marking over 5 decades of continuity. On the obverse, the coin features the left-facing profile of George Washington, based on a bust by neoclassical artist Jean-Antoine Houdon. The word "Liberty" is boldly inscribed along the top, symbolizing the foundational American value Washington helped establish. The motto, "In God We Trust," appears on the left, and the date 1989 is prominently placed beneath Washington's chin. The reverse showcases the powerful imagery of an American bald eagle with wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing military strength and readiness, while 2 olive branches beneath the eagle represent America's desire for peace. Encircling the design are the United States of America at the top and quarter dollar at the bottom, with E pluribus unum just above the eagle's head, a Latin phrase meaning out of many, one, highlighting the unity of the diverse American states. By 1989, the Washington Quarter had long since transitioned from silver to the copper-nickel-clad composition, introduced in 1965 due to rising silver prices and coin hoarding. The 1989 quarter features a core of pure copper bonded between 2 outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it a total weight of 5.67 grams and a diameter of 24.26 millimeter. The reeded edge, composed of 119 ridges, served both as a security measure and as a legacy from the time when quarters were made of precious metal. Production took place at 3 United States mint facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark, used exclusively on proof coins. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 512 million quarters, while the Denver Mint produced over 896 million, making the 1989 D a very common coin in circulation. The San Francisco Mint issued high-quality proof coins as part of collector sets, struck with specially prepared dies and polished planchets to produce a mirror-like finish and crisp details. These proof coins often feature a cameo or deep cameo contrast, especially in grades PR69 DCAM and PR70 DCAM, which are highly desirable among modern coin collectors. Though 1989 does not offer any widely recognized or dramatic die varieties or mint errors, the high mintage and broad circulation mean that a few minor errors, such as off-center strikes, die cracks, or doubled dies, can occasionally be found and are of interest to error specialists. Additionally, coin graders and collectors often pursue examples in the highest uncirculated grades, such as MS66 and MS67, where perfect strike, luster, and surface preservation increase a coin's desirability and value. In circulated condition, however, most 1989 quarters are still worth face value due to their abundance. Historically, 1989 was a year of technological innovation, shifting geopolitical tides and economic change in the U.S. Though these developments are not directly reflected on the quarter, they offer a backdrop to its everyday use in American life. The coin was exchanged in vending machines, toll booths, payphones, and retail counters during a time when the American economy was navigating the tail end of Reaganomics and entering a new post-Cold War era. As the last decade of the 20th century began, the Washington quarter design was entering its final decade in unaltered form. In just over a decade, the series would undergo a dramatic transformation with the release of the 50-state quarters program in 1999, making the 1989 issue one of the final classic Washington quarters, with the eagle reverse before the shift to state-specific designs. This historical positioning gives the 1989 quarter an added layer of significance for collectors seeking a complete set of pre-statehood quarters. For students of U.S. numismatics, the 1989 quarter may seem commonplace, yet it plays an important role in the continuity of American coinage, representing a dependable form of currency that bridged the gap between the silver-era coins of the past and the more artistically diverse commemorative series of the future. As such, it remains a staple in pocket change, a key date in album collections, and a coin rich in historical and cultural context for those who take the time to look beyond its everyday use. The 1974 United States quarter dollar, part of the long-running Washington quarter series, stands as a fascinating piece of modern American numismatic history, reflecting a period of stability in design, yet subtle transitions in coin production techniques and public perception of coinage. Minted just 2 years before the United States bicentennial redesign, the 1974 quarter carries the original John Flanagan obverse design that had been in use since 1932. This design features the left-facing portrait of George Washington, America's first president, modeled from a bust by the French neoclassical sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon. The word liberty arcs boldly above Washington's head, while the motto, "In God We Trust," is positioned to the left of his neck. The date 1974 is struck clearly at the bottom. On the reverse, the coin features a heraldic eagle, with its wings spread wide, clutching a bundle of arrows symbolizing military strength, positioned above 2 olive branches denoting peace, a motif symbolizing America's preparedness for defense while striving for peace. The United States of America and quarter dollar encircle the design, with E pluribus unum, out of many one, appearing just above the eagle's head. The 1974 quarter is made of a copper nickel-clad composition with outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This composition was introduced in 1965 to replace the earlier 90% silver coins, and by 1974, the clad coinage had become the standard, widely accepted and circulated across the nation. The quarters were produced at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark for proof coins only. Business strikes from Philadelphia and Denver were made in high quantities, with over 801 million struck in Philadelphia and more than 353 million in Denver, ensuring the 1974 quarter remains common in circulation to this day. The San Francisco Mint, on the other hand, struck proof versions for collectors, housed in special sets and characterized by sharp detail and mirrored finishes. While the 1974 quarter might seem ordinary, collectors pay attention to condition, mint mark, and strike quality. Coins in pristine mint state condition, especially MS-66 and above, are much rarer and command premium prices. Additionally, proof coins from San Francisco are highly valued in grades like PR69 Decam, Deep Cameo, where the frosted details contrast sharply against mirror-like fields. Although no major varieties or errors were officially released for the 1974 quarter, some examples have surfaced with striking errors, such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or die cracks, which are of interest to error coin collectors. Another important aspect of 1974 in U.S. numismatics is the political and economic backdrop. The country was experiencing the aftermath of the Vietnam War, facing rising inflation and dealing with the Watergate scandal, which would lead to President Nixon's resignation the following year. While the coin does not directly reflect these events, it circulated widely during a time of political upheaval and economic strain, making it a silent witness to a key moment in U.S. history. In addition, 1974 was the last year before the release of the bicentennial quarter design, which commemorated America's 200th anniversary in 1976 with a special reverse. This makes the 1974 quarter one of the final issues of the classic Eagle reverse before the temporary switch to the drummer boy design of the bicentennial. For modern collectors, assembling a full date and mint set of Washington quarters from the clad era, including the 1974 issue, provides a historical journey through U.S. coinage. While the typical 1974 quarter may not be rare or particularly valuable in circulated condition, its significance lies in its context within the broader history of American coinage, representing a consistent and widely trusted form of currency in a time of national uncertainty and impending celebration. Whether found in pocket change, passed down in a family collection, or preserved in a proof set, the 1974 Washington quarter remains a small but enduring artifact of American culture, craftsmanship, and economic continuity.